This podcast is brought to you by Comedy Central's Emmy Award winner, The Daily Show. With hosts Ronnie Chang, Jordan Klepper, Michael Costa, Desi Leidick, and every Monday, Jon Stewart, it's the most hosted show in late night. And it's a good thing, too, because in these uncertain times, one thing is for sure. This much news needs this many hosts. For your Emmy consideration, The Daily Show. Now nominated for 12 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Talk Series. Hi, everyone. Today, we're bringing you the final installment of our fall preview series. Today, Chris Rosen and I are joined by Joyce Ng, Chris's former colleague at Gold Derby, now at Entertainment Weekly. We're going to look at the streamers, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, what they have in the Oscar race this year, whether Netflix can finally win the Best Picture Oscar they've been trying for, and what the other contenders from the other streamer options might be. After that, you'll hear my conversation with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. They are longtime creative partners, and they are the co-creators and directors of The Studio, which is now nominated for 23 Emmys. I'm Katey Rich, and this is the Prestige Junkie Podcast. Joyce, thank you so much for joining us. I do feel like there's a lot of listeners who have been clamoring to hear you and Chris talk to each other again. And now this is like it's like the divorced parents, like everyone's together at graduation dinner. We're all making it happen.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. And yeah, Chris did tell me there was some excitement about me. And
the fans want this more than anything else, I think.
I mean, I think it's just Chris's burners.
Yes.
we did have like, some diehard fans who wrote in every week for our mailbag episode. So maybe it's a couple of them.
Okay, well, I hope everyone is happy, but now I think everyone else will be happy.
All 7 of them are here.
Yes, and then we'll find legions of more fans. Anyway, you are following this stuff as intensely and closely as Chris and I here, even though we're all now in separate places. And I feel like when we reached out to you to be on this, like the streamers did feel like a thing that you were interested in. I don't know if if you don't have to be like a Netflix stan or anything, but like, what is it about this particular bunch when it comes to the Oscar race is interesting to you?
I think this year in particular, I'm not necessarily a Netflix stan, but I think this year Netflix has a really robust slate, more so than the past couple years. So I think that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of been on the downswing the last 3 years, Did
something weird happen with Netflix's awards contenders last year? I can't remember if there was any drama there.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Chris, are you aware of Netflix having drama?
I'd have to Google this. I have to be honest.
No idea what happened there.
You got to go tweet it and then look it up 5 years later and see what you said was. But anyway, yes.
We need an oral history on that season in 5 years.
Oh my God.
So.
Well, I mean, I think you probably have the same problem I do, that as soon as an Oscar season is over, it just like wipes from your brain. Like pop quiz, who won Best Actor last year? Can you conjure it? It's going to take me a minute. So yeah, in 5 years when we're all ready to revisit Amelia Perez, we can
oh, that's it. Amelia Perez. There it is. Yes,
now you got to start singing the songs. Chris, what do you think about the streamers this year overall?
What Joyce was saying, I think, is right. This is definitely Netflix. This has got to be Netflix's best slate since 2019, I would say. And it feels like if they aren't going, my thing with this year with them, you could see in the future. But I'm like, if they're going to win Best Picture, and if it's not this year, then when is it ever?
It has to be now.
I mean, like this is like the most. Like 2019, they had Marriage Story and Irishman. Obviously, that was like a huge year for them, and. That was
their best year before this, right? Like 2019 was their high watermark.
Because it's like Roma was the closest they ever got to winning.
Yes.
But that was like their first, that was when they were first taken seriously and they first entered the fray.
Yeah.
And 2019 was when, I mean, if it didn't have the flex scale, they probably could have gotten the 2 Popes in Best Picture and gotten 3 nominees,
Oh, yeah.
So that was a strong year, and then the COVID year. So they still got 2 in with Mank and Chicago 7, and then Power of the Dog and Don't Look Up after that.
Yes, I mean...
But then since then, it's just been one. Like, they were going to have nothing in 2022 until All Quiet.
Yeah.
Came in at the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about COVID asterisk in a minute there, because it's definitely been a big factor in all of these streamers when it comes to the Oscars. But I was going to save Netflix for last, because I do think we are
save the best for last.
They are the big contender in this, and there's other streamers to get into. Chris and I went to a premiere of an Apple movie in New York earlier this week as we record this with Highest to Lowest, which I don't think it's going to be the main focus of this conversation. But Apple is still the only streamer that has won Best Picture. It does have movies in the race this year. We're going to talk about them. But, talking about COVID exceptions, does Apple winning with Coda now feel more like a fluke than any kind of sign that either they or streamers in general could actually be competitive here?
I think with Coda, that was just right place, right time. Definitely very circumstantial. Obviously has its fans, but I think it was also a matter of the competition that year and Power of the Dog, just not connecting with normies really. It was a total film Twitter movie, and
back when film Twitter still had power. R.I.P.
Yeah. We could get into this more with Netflix later, but I think it was Power Dog was very strong in phase one, and then it's a marathon, so then you got to maintain the momentum until the Oscars, and it just lost it. And Coda was surging at the right time, and it's feel good, it makes you cry, it made Javier Bardem cry. So it was
made me cry, Joyce. Obviously,
so goes Javier Bardem, as goes the nation.
Here's the thing. I remember I've said this before on our old podcast a billion times, but it was a Sundance movie, Coda, and I talked to the whole cast at Sundance, and I was like, this is a cute movie, and it came out in August, literally 4 years ago this month, this weekend, and
happy anniversary.
And then, but it, no noise, because Apple didn't really do much promotion with it, and then it was just kind of I feel in the fall, everyone was just kind of oh, it'll get in the 8 to 10 range, And then I think, with Troy Kotsur, it really started when he won Boston. And then Gotham, those two, and that kickstarted his thing, because before that was Marlee Matlin would be the acting nominee.
It's so weird that she didn't get an acting nomination for that movie, in retrospect.
Yeah, and then I think people were just kind of looking for, again, it was during COVID, so it was they were looking for something feel good, similar to Ted Lasso at the Emmys with Apple,
Was it the same year? Did Coda premiere the same summer as Ted Lasso's first season?
Ted was August 2020, so a year before, but its first Emmys was 2021.
Definitely writing that way. Okay, so Coda premieres a month later, Ted Lasso wins the Emmys, and everyone is looking for some brightness in the dark.
Yeah, and then it's I think people also, if you don't like Power of the Dog, you might just feel beaten down by it, from Netflix, It's I don't really like this movie, and they're shoving it down my throat, and it's oh, and then there's good word of mouth with Coda and one SAG, and that was really when you saw the campaign pick up. They brought them to the White House.
God, they did. Jesus
but
Christ.
but since then, Apple, it never has huge slates anyway, compared to Netflix. The following year, my favorite film the following year was Causeway from them. Remember Emancipation?
I do remember Emancipation. Will Smith's Oscar follow-up that went badly for so many reasons.
Yeah. And then 2 years ago, Flower Moon, which was supposed to be not the winner, but it was definitely top two, especially in the beginning. It was not top two by the end, but I think that had similar problems to Power of the Dog, where it's just a little too cerebral and long. Chris saw it 3 times to try to force himself to like it. So.
That's true. I still don't really love it. I think when you're, the thing is, with these, we could talk about this broadly, but I do think with the streamers, one of the things is the finding, and I think there's one movie on this list of Netflix movies, which we'll get to later, obviously, because we're doing Netflix at the end, but that I think the Oscar movies that seem to win lately are the organic ones that people come to and really respond to. Coda was that movie, and whether I don't know if it would have even been an Apple movie, it hadn't been the pandemic, right? Who knows how that whole thing would have played out? Maybe somebody else picks it up out of Sundance and whatever. But the problem with a lot of these streaming movies is it does feel whether to overcompensate for the fact that there isn't a theatrical release or whatever, it's they're really shoving them down your throat, and you have to like this movie. This is the movie that is going to win an Oscar, and people are kind of typically get out of my face. I want to like what I like. And we saw that with Coda. We've seen that with Everything Everywhere and a lot of the recent Best Picture winners. And I wonder this year, will Netflix and any of these streamers be able to overcome that? That to me is more of the issue than, it's a streaming movie. It's the forcing of for whatever reason, just getting that organic response isn't happening for these streaming movies. And I don't know why it is, but maybe it does have something to do with how they're marketed to the voters and the audience.
Well, Apple does have a theatrical hit in F1 that it, in theory, could be pushing into the Oscar race this fall. And like, to start off and looking at what they have this year, like that is a bird in the hand in some ways, kind of like the way we've talked about Sinners. It's like a movie that like did well in theaters, got pretty good reviews. I don't think it's like a Sinners level or even like Top Gun Maverick level critical success. But it is proof that Apple can do theatrical in some way, even though it was Warner Brothers was their partner putting that in theaters. So I don't want to sit here and like pretend that F1 is like a real Best Picture contender. I don't think any of us likely believe that, but it does seem like some proof of concept in terms of not shoving something down people's throats, something that actually has genuine success. And that has to help them somehow, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like that's definitely an organic hit. I think like pre-release, there was discussion about like, oh, could this be like Top Gun Maverick? Just because of the people involved, obviously. Yeah. And then it's, it's Top Gun on the road. But I mean,
on the track, they go in circles. Yeah, they're not really on the road.
To me, it's really like Mario Kart. So it's Mario Kart and Top Gun, but it's not like it's not as like geisty as Top Gun. So it's, I mean, I don't like Top Gun is another one similar to Dakota where it was like the right circumstances, right? Like I don't know if it would have been as big of a hit had it come out a year or two later because so much of its popularity narrative was just, return to cinema too, after COVID as well. So, and yeah, I mean, F1, I think, it'll get into sound, great sound, beautiful sound.
Here, I was thinking with F1, I think it also depends. I don't think it's as good as Top Gun Maverick. I think it's very good though. And like we're saying, like people really liked it. And obviously it has been like a sustained hit for Warner Brothers and Apple this whole summer. And they're bringing it back into IMAX and stuff. I would say, like, if any of these movies flop, like the ones that we're expecting to fill out the bottom of the field, like, it's possible it could sneak in like the 10th spot at the end. Like, what if Avatar? Like, what if Avatar's bad? I don't think it will be.
It's
what if Wicked sucks?
Don't slander
I'm
Big
just
Jim.
saying, like, I'm just saying, like, there's a world where some of these movies that we're expecting to be in play aren't in play.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, you're going to go back and be like, oh, well, I did like F1. Like, that was cool. And like Joyce is saying, like, it'll probably be a player for sound, maybe editing, maybe cinematography, maybe score.
Score's
and
great.
It gets carried in, like, below the lines. I wouldn't predict this, but I'm just saying, like, it is definitely of these Apple movies, it's basically to me like maybe the only one that has like a real serious case for Best Picture right now, sight unseen for the Lost Bus.
Sure, we haven't seen The Lost Bus. Yeah. I mean, I think that you were right in terms of like the ceiling on what it can do. But if I'm working at Apple and I'm thinking like, okay, we've got these movies, like, how are we going to try to get them in front of people? Like, it could be a test case for The Lost Bus. Like, I don't want to skip over Highest to Lowest. It's an interesting movie to talk about, but just knowing that like something that's like a little bit muscular and a little bit actiony can be an Apple movie. Lost Bus is going to theaters with who? Does Apple have a partner for that one, or is it just them?
It does not yet.
Interesting.
It's just, I think this is one of, I don't want to say first, but in recent memory, like it does not have a distro partner.
Well, what was Blitz last year? Wasn't it like the same thing, kind of? Did they have a distro partner?
Are you going to go like conjure Blitz and?
But I mean, that's like
heart and fear in the heart of everybody who works at Apple. I love
Chris
Blitz.
and I saw Blitz together.
Yeah,
love
you were
Blitz.
early.
I'll keep writing.
I know you
for
loved it, Katey. You could ride or die for it.
I'll ride or die for Blitz. It's okay though.
To quote the great Spike Lee, not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea.
It's very British of you, actually. Well, yeah, I said I didn't want to skip over Highest to Lowest, so let's talk about Spike Lee for a second. I mean, I do think the late August theatrical release, as much as there is a theatrical release for Highest to Lowest, kind of tells you something about the awards hopes here. We all kind of wonder why A24 and Apple are treating this movie the way that it is. But, I mean, can we at least say in a better world, A$AP Rocky would be getting a Best Supporting Actor campaign?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, he could still have one.
He could, I mean, like...
I'm not sure he is, but...
What is the A$AP Rocky like Gotham Award nomination, right? Probably, and maybe like do enough New York Film Critics Circle members like ride or die
he could be
for this
the cool
movie.
The cool
like
pick
they
for
end
New
up
York.
nominating him, or maybe he gets one of these like regional nominations. I could see that happening.
If he was willing to like go to the Middleburg Film Festival and get an acting award there, like he could. That option is in front of him, but he's A$AP Rocky and has better things to do, presumably. So it's hard to see.
I would also say for the movie, definitely feels like they could. Original song is actually very crowded this year, but I think they could make a case for either one of the A$AP Rocky songs or like the song that ends the movie. There's there's enough original music here where they could make a strong case for it. I don't think it'll go anywhere else though in the larger scheme. It just
reminds me of The Five Bloods when that was released in June during COVID too, obviously. and there a lot of people try to make a push for the Roy Lindo stuff, and it just it didn't really happen. It feels it's like similar, like summer release, and you just get the feeling it's not a priority. So
on the like original song front, I hadn't thought about that, but like how many rap songs since Hard Out Here for a Pimp have gotten nominated for original song? I feel like that has to be a very short list to tell you something about the taste of the Academy. Can you guys think of any?
I'm Googling it.
Yeah.
Joyce, you know this stuff off the top of your head.
Because in recent years, because it was like, oh, like these could get in, but they didn't.
I'm looking now. It's like nothing really that I could see. I mean, like nothing I would call like rap songs.
No.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, this is
they're not. It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp or Lose Yourself.
No.
Oh yeah, Lose Yourself was before that. I mean, this is a year where we're asking Academy voters to consider K-pop. So I'm not sure that K-pop and rap.
I'm not even sure
they're not capable of both.
I think Golden can get in, not to jump ahead, but I think that would get in before.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, as good as the A$AP Rocky music is. Okay, so to end up on The Lost Bus, which is an unknown quantity for all of us, none of us have seen it. It's going to world premiere in Toronto. It's got, award strategists working on it. It has Jamie Lee Curtis as a producer, which she
has a bunch of Instagram posts scheduled.
Oh, yeah. Well, they'll get buried by all of her subsequent Instagram posts. So you have to really keep an eye out to find things. Do not underestimate that woman under any circumstances. But Paul Greengrass, on the other hand, has had a pretty rough Oscar ride since United 93. And like, where are you guys on your scale of 1 to 10 hopes on The Lost Bus?
Everything for me on paper feels like this would be a great Oscar movie because like it's got Jamie Lee Curtis and it's about the campfire, like the wildfires and stuff. And like, obviously like that'll be very relevant to people who live in Los Angeles and lived through the last year. And it's like an inspirational true story. America Ferrera, Oscar, Halo right after her nomination. I'm like, all this on paper feels right, but I was like thrown off by the date, and it's like I don't know how.
It's like early October.
I think it's September in theaters and then early October. But I'm like, will this have enough? Will it be noisy enough to make it in? I could definitely. This is like 20 years ago. This is to me a Best Picture nominee, but I don't know now. I have no idea, and we'll like how will that play? But I don't know, Joyce. What do you think?
I mean, of Apple's slate has the most potential to be like a coda, I think. Like Chris said, like inspirational, true story. Sure, a lot of people will cry watching it. I don't even know have not seen it, obviously, but there will definitely be tears for people.
It seems like it's like scary but inspirational about like surviving a wildfire. So that's cathartic for sure.
Yeah, and then the wildfires aspect too. Like it's in Paradise, California, so it's like LA adjacent, and like so much of even with the Emmys this year too, like so much of the people's campaigns and everything, and just the industry in general is about bringing production back to LA and just focus on LA. So I think they could definitely lean into that.
Was it actually produced in LA? Did they make it in California?
I don't think so, but I think it's just like the fact that the story is. I have no idea.
That narrative might fall apart pretty quickly if they're like, we filmed in Vancouver.
Yeah, we filmed in Vancouver. It's not in Paradise, but I think it's like the fact that
it says on Wikipedia. It says principal photography began in New Mexico. So
wow,
so
we're all wrong.
It's closer than Vancouver.
I think that will be something to track all throughout all of Oscar season because, we've all been noticing that like filmed in LA, bring it back to LA kind of part of it. But the TV Academy is so much more LA based than the Film Academy is. And so like, is that powerful? Like the wildfires are still very fresh. They were such a big part of last year's award season. Like how important is that? I mean, I guess if The Lost Bus is really strong, then that's where that conversation comes up.
Yeah, that would just definitely be the focus of like the LA pocket, which is getting smaller and smaller every year in this Academy.
Yeah.
As it expands. But yeah, I think, just judging by the trailer, maybe visual effects, nice visual effects. I don't know.
I feel nervous about seeing this in Toronto. I feel like it's going to be very anxiety inducing.
But it is kind of cool that it's like one of the movies that we're actually not like a lot of these movies. I feel like we kind of have a real handle on, and this I feel like could go in several different directions.
It could completely disappear.
It could completely disappear. It could be like the greatest beer run ever, whatever that Apple Toronto movie was, right? Or it could be like, this
Peter
is going to be
Farrelly's Oscar follow-up.
Yes, it was. But it could be like a major thing, and like if I would just say like if it's close, like. I just feel like no one is better at this than Jamie Lee Curtis. So if it's in the conversation as we get to like December, January, still hanging around, like I would not bet against her pushing it all the way through to a nomination for Best Picture or whatever.
Absolutely the way to
you
put
know what
it.
I mean? Like she's just like, so if it's there, they have enough tools to push it over the top, but it just depends on whether it's
this
there.
is also another reconnaissance for Matthew too.
Right, another bring him
How many
back.
reconnaissances is he getting? Like
He's like a cat. Like there's 9 lives there.
I mean, he hasn't been nominated since he
went
won,
to football
so.
games now, which seems fine. I would enjoy that life. Well, like speaking of movies we don't have a handle on, like to move on to Amazon NGM, which can be a pretty short conversation because they have a pretty limited slate this year. Like After the Hunt feels like it could go every possible direction. Like it'll be at Venice in a couple weeks, so we'll see it very soon. It's unclear to me like how bomb throwing it's going to be, how much it's going to be like, woke cancel culture. I don't know. Like it's Luca, so you want to have hope in it, but also I saw Queer last year, so I don't think he's infallible, and I cannot figure out where to put that on the map.
Yeah, I currently have it in my predictions, I think. I don't know, I haven't looked at it in a while, but
In Best Picture?
Yeah, but it's one of those where I could see just completely missing just because they have not shown an affinity for Luca.
Yeah.
Sorry to the challenger stands.
I tried really hard. I did everything I could.
And then, the discourse about this movie could become really, really bad online, at least. And, voters are not online, so that doesn't really matter in a sense. But, even if you know what the story's about or you've read the script, then
Have you read the script?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
how insane is it going to make people?
I mean, listen, it's just the script, so I don't know what the final product is like, but there'll be discourse.
Okay.
So it'll make people mad. Media literacy is an all-time low as well. So
it's true.
It's, I guess, it could be like the Oscar villain of the year. I don't know. Again, this could go a lot of different ways.
Okay.
But
I just like, to me, it's like, the non-competition slot in Venice is like, that's a red flag, I would say. And then just like playing New York, but is not always great sign for some of these, like as like a title, like what is it opening in New York or is it?
It's opening night, I think.
Opening, so I'm like, okay.
Wait, why is that not a great sign?
Like there's not a great track record there for like churning over like Best Picture nominations from those movies, I would say.
Sure.
And then
tough for your beloved Deliver Me From Nowhere.
True. But that's not opening night, I guess.
Sure.
Opening night was Nickel Boys was last year. That was Amazon. White Noise.
White Noise, I'm thinking. And so I don't know. I'm like, all of those things are sort of red flags. And I'm just like, we keep waiting for like, at least I do, Julia Roberts to get like re-embraced by any kind of like groups here. And I'm just like, what if people are like kind of don't care as much anymore, right? Like I actually really liked Leave the World Behind. I'm one of the few people who think that movie is great, but I'm like, nobody really liked that movie. And what if this is like kind of the same thing?
So, she was incredible in Gaslit too. So that's TV.
Oh yeah, she was incredible in that show that nobody
but it was also
has
Stars,
any idea exists.
So, the Emmys do not watch Stars. So.
Yeah, that was the two like Watergate shows that came out within like 8 months of each other, and everyone just said no, thank you. And then Chris, I think you keep reminding me that Best Actress is like a little wobbly this year. So like there is a slot for like a big movie star Julia Roberts performance if there's if people don't want to immediately run away screaming from After the Hunt.
100%, and certainly like on paper, again, this is like we could get Julia Roberts an Oscar nomination, Iowa Debris like kind of pulling the Kieran Culkin and getting a nomination after winning an Emmy, and like people really like her, and like here she comes, and like Andrew Garfield should be nominated, and all these different things, and everybody likes Luca, but like I don't know. We've seen movies that are able to withstand the discourse. Certainly, like Amelia Perez last year, at least before it got completely annihilated by Carlos Gascon with the tweets. It was like part of it was like almost like a badge of honor to be like, oh, I actually like this movie and I'm going to support it, right? And like, will that happen with this? Like Joyce is saying, does the discourse online, which is going to be like loud and noisy, do then voters be like, oh, you don't tell me what to do. I actually do like this, or whatever, and it kind of goes in. I mean, it's the only real Amazon MGM movie this year, I think, that like is even.
Well, we have there's Hedda on there too, which is going to TIFF, which we it was there. I don't know that much about it. I've like heard of a handful of people seeing it, but it's hard. It doesn't have all the like on paper bona fides that After the Hunt does.
And so, like, it also has, like, all of Amazon's focus then, right? This is, like, real, like, after the hunt, it's, like, their priority. So, like, all of that, to me, means, like, it'll definitely be seen. I guess it just depends if it's
what did
if it's any good.
What's his face, Barbara, say about, like, when they didn't want it to be in competition at Venice, and he was saying, like, Amazon really believes in it and stuff. They just didn't want it to compete and win awards. Right. So
sure.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, it's just kind of like Amazon MGM is ramping up film production so much in an interesting way. Like, it does feel like this is a weird pause before they're going to be in a bigger place. Like, we've already got the trailer out for the Ryan Gosling movie. What is that thing called? You know what I'm talking about? The space movie.
Why can't I just think? Joyce, what's the name? The Project Hail Mary.
Yeah,
Holy shit! How do we all?
I was gonna say Project Mary. I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Because we're all focused on movies that are coming out in the next 6 months, and like that one is far enough in the future that we can get to.
But I will
later.
say, like, that to me, if that was on this year's slate, I'd be like, Best Picture, let's go. Like, I'm all in on that movie for next year. I'd have no doubt for them.
Yeah.
So like, we'll see. I'm like cautiously optimistic for After the Hunt, just because I want to like it, and I like everybody involved. So hopefully it's good. But I'm just like leery to see how it'll play.
Yeah. And I mean, and the poster was giving the sun.
The poster's not ideal.
No, not ideal.
People I saw, I don't know who it was, but I saw somebody put that, it was the sun
and collateral
beauty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yikes.
I mean, like, exactly.
Not the movies you want in not the movies you want in, like, the cloud, and the word cloud.
I just want to say, when we did our, like, ridiculously early Oscar predictions for 2022, I had the sun everywhere.
Of course.
Yes, I remember that. We were so psyched for the sun. Who was the actor who were, like, first-time nominee?
His name started with Z. What was his name? Oh my gosh.
God.
That was
sorry to him.
That movie was an all-time, like, preseason, like, sure, it's got Oscar buzz.
This had Oscar buzz.
Yeah, the minute
Zen
McGrath. Aw, poor kid. We all had him in there. He's going to get nominated. Didn't work.
Past performance is not an indicator of future success. Is that the way you say that? So Amazon MGM may be having kind of a rebuilding year. We'll see how any of this stuff goes. I think it is now time to finally get to Netflix. Are they finally going to win Best Picture this year? Could they do it? They've been trying so hard for so long.
According to Chris, it's the last chance.
It's not I didn't say that. I would just say, if they're not going to win it this year, when are they going to win it? Because I don't think they've ever, like, this slate is outrageously good to me on paper.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and like, to the point that I'm kind of surprised that this is the slate that they're doing, because they keep being like, we're going to focus on movies that people like. We're going to make more Electric States or whatever, not like these prestige movies. And then they go and get Noah Baumbach, Guillermo del Toro, Catherine Bigelow, and it's like, fine, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Let's go. Like, I'm surprised that they can still do this, and so maybe that is why it's the last chance. It's like, all right, one more shot to work with these big name directors and see what we can do.
I mean, to me, this also feels like this is like the perfect mix of like auteur, like highfalutin stuff with like mainstream movies. Because all of these to me feel like mainstream titles that would have are real movies. You know what I mean? Like, there's not like, none of these are Power of the Dog to me.
Sure. Or even Emilia Perez of being like, look, correct, it's a big movie. If we tell you it's huge, it's going to be huge. Like, all of these. Let's see. No, Baumbach doesn't have an Oscar, but Catherine Bigelow and Guillermo del Toro do. Like, it's like big, meaty talent behind all of these. Edward Berger doesn't have an Oscar because All Quiet only won for Germany.
His movies have Oscar, and they win Oscars.
They want you to think. Focus last year wanted you to think he had the Oscar because they called him an Oscar winner in the trailer.
Is he though? Is he?
I mean, this tangent for a second. Shouldn't the directors of the international feature get the Oscar?
100%.
Okay, so like Germany can have it, but also Edward Berger
can have it. Give to both.
Yeah, so like multiple producers can win for it. Anyway, Joyce, of the Netflix titles, what are you highest on?
I mean, I don't know, like, what I'm personally highest on, but in terms of the Oscars, I feel like
what do you think? What do you think is the biggest?
Their number
deal?
one is J. Kelly, and then I would say Frankenstein number two.
Yeah.
I mean, Frankenstein, I'm just like, I can see that missing. It could be like another Nosferatu, just get below the line.
Which got 4 Oscar nominations.
Yeah, so just below the line, but like no Best Picture, But
yeah,
they do love Guillermo. J. Kelly, I don't think it's a normie movie, so I don't know how that's going to play with the broader Netflix audience, but it's definitely an industry movie. Obviously, it's a very meta performance from George Clooney. I
mean,
can't
it
wait
does
for
have
someone.
Adam Sandler in it, who has made probably more
but
successful
it's
Netflix
not like
movies than
Happy
anybody.
Gilmore, you know?
No.
It's not. It's a different turn from him. But I don't know. And then it's also like, will George have this like comeback nomination too? Because he has not been nominated in 14 years. Granted, he's spent much of that time since his last nomination directing, which, maybe he shouldn't spend as much time on. So
you mean Boys in the Boat? You're not a big fan?
Yeah, Suburban Boys. You love the
I talked to him for the Midnight Sky. Okay.
Oh boy, Midnight. That was a Netflix movie. I guess that's his only previous Netflix movie here. Yeah, I mean, I just
love the Tender Bar.
I feel like I have spent.
I did enjoy the Tender Bar.
Like, we spent 15 years being like, George Clooney, please be a movie star again. You're better at it than almost anyone. Please do it again. And in Jay Kelly, like, as much as it may be a Noah Baumbach movie that's like a little spiky, like, it seems like he's giving us exactly what we've been asking for. It's like, who wouldn't want to reward that with a nomination?
To me, I feel like this is of these movies, like, like, I know they're Netflix is internally like very high on House of Dynamite, which also nobody has really seen. And like that kind of is another.
Also, that first look photo was poorly lit, so you can't see anything.
But I would say, like, that's another one that seems like it would play like right down the middle in terms of like, you're going to get real people to watch that, right? Because it's like a big action movie or like a thriller at least. And then like also cineasts because they love Catherine Bigelow. But anyway, Jay Kelly, I'm just like, the industry is going to love it because it's about they just love movies about themselves, right? Like we've seen that over and over again. And so that plus Clooney and Sandler, like maybe it does break through, and it does feel like in a world where the studio is maybe going to win, or Hacks at the Emmys, both about the industry, like is Jay Kelly going to then also win at the Oscars? They've never really embraced Noah Baumbach, but they could actually embrace the movie and still not embrace him. Like, I don't think he'd win Best Director, even if it won Best Picture. Like, I don't even know if he would win Best Original Screenplay because you have like Ryan Coogler,
Emily Mortimer,
right? Yeah. But I'm like, you have like Ryan Coogler or whatever could win. So I'm like, I think it could just be like, is that the movie that breaks through for them to win Best Picture of this slate? That definitely feels to me like their best shot, though.
Is Sandler going to get in? He's going to get the SAG nomination. We know that he's set for SAG.
Yeah. Sandler should get in. I feel like he would. Personally, at the Oscars.
I mean, Chris, you and I saw Sentimental Value recently as we record this, and like that is also a movie that's about movies, and it's also got Stellan Skarsgård like in that supporting actor category that's going to be up against Sandler, and like is a little bit more of a presumably highbrow version of this. We haven't seen Jay Kelly, although we have heard enough from people who've seen it that I think it's gonna be good. Like it seems like it's gonna deliver. So are those two movies that are about movie making, like do you wind up having to pick one? Like has Jay Kelly become like the normie pick? Like I'm curious about how that shakes out.
It's not even both about just movie making. Like it's just very similar themes too as well. Yeah. You know, these like older
like legacy
gentlemen.
And family.
Yeah, and like in a crisis, I'm confident.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point about it. Also some solid Netflix shots across the bow and Sentimental Value, which is just funny. Yeah, I am curious about House of Dynamite also because I think with Bigelow, like given that Detroit was just such a non-entity and that was her last movie, like, you know, it could have come to Netflix and been more of like what is the Chris Hemsworth series that he makes on Netflix? Like
Extraction. No, Extraction.
Yeah. Oh, Extraction. Limitless
like,
just premiered.
Like Catherine Bigelow has an Oscar. I don't want to like denigrate her that way, but like she makes like muscular action movies, and you can imagine Netflix kind of being like, this is going to be more of a play for audiences than awards. But they have talked it up so much internally. It's got a Venice slot and then New York, or is it going straight to New York?
I think Venice first and then New York.
So like that is a real, like, you know, she is back in the firmament kind of play for them, which I think everyone would be excited about. Like, you know, Zero Dark 30 and Hurt Locker was such an exceptional, you know, pair of movies. And a spot for something that's a little bit more action heavy and production heavy. Like Jay Kelly seems pretty, I don't know if it was cheap to make, but it doesn't seem like big and glossy, and House of Dynamite and then also Frankenstein could be a good, you know, counterbalance to that.
Definitely. And also like the one with House of Dynamite, I think the other thing that has gone, like we knew about Jay Kelly like as like a thing, like I feel like since last year, right? Like it's been like, oh, no, Baumbach's late. Next movie is going to be a big deal, and he's got all these famous people in it. Same with Frankenstein with Guillermo del Toro. It's like, oh, obviously this is going to be a movie that is going to be an Oscar contender. And House of Dynamite, I think, has a little bit of that. And there's, I think K-pop Demon Hunters has this too.
Well,
but,
okay, hang
where
on.
It's like,
I'll get to this. K-pop Demon Hunters.
I will, but I'm just saying, like, where House of Dynamite could be like an organic thing for Netflix, because that's seemingly how, like, just from talking to people, like, the surprise of being like, hey, like you were saying, like, Detroit wasn't like very well received. It's been a while since Catherine Bigelow's been around. and like, hey, this is great. Like we weren't expecting it to be as good as it is. And maybe that helps like overcome the feeling, like we were saying before, of like being forced, these streaming movies forced onto you versus like you finding them on your own.
Yeah, honestly, it's the All Quiet on the Western Front thing, right? Where like
Same.
Netflix had this movie and like everyone kind of, it was like ignored at TIFF, and then people caught up with being like, wow, actually this really got me.
It hit the short list, and then everyone was like, okay, they're actually watching it and they like it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it.
I will also say that A House of Dynamite has the best title of them. I think titles matter too.
Yeah.
Like it just piques your interest. It's like, what is this about?
Although
Jay Kelly, it's a name.
I would say the same thing for Ballad of a Small Player, which I don't know what that means exactly, but
but the thing about that is like you can make too many puns for it if it's not going to be a big player.
True.
So
well,
that's
it's like Nobody Wants This comes out, and you're like, you really want to call your show that? Like, what
but
if?
Now it's everybody wants this.
Everybody wants this.
Right there.
It's it's the risk you take.
Yeah. I mean, Frankenstein, Jay Kelly, and House of Dynamite do seem like the big three titles at Netflix. Ballad of a Small Player is right there with Edward Berger, not an Oscar winner, but still a very big deal. Coming right on the heels of Conclave. That's got a Toronto premiere, but we think it's going to be at Telluride. Is that the?
I think
is?
That's the idea, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then, like, again, like not really anyone seems to have seen it. Like, are we underestimating it, or does it seem like it could be like a like a smaller player compared to these other three?
You go ahead. I don't know what you're gonna say, Joyce.
I don't know. I mean, I have not read the book, so I don't know what to
have
expect.
The book. I've had this copy of the book from the library. Well, I've been trying to finish Vineland this is like an ongoing saga. I'm so close to finishing it, so I'm trying to get to this next.
Joyce, she's a
I'm
reader.
like,
not very much.
I don't know how to read
because I've been trying to finish the same book for like 2 months. So we'll see. I'm trying. So anyway, I'll let you know when I figure out what Ballad of a Small Player actually is.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess like if it is a big player, will Ed finally get in?
Yeah.
That would be funny. Like if he got in after missing for the bigger movies.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because I definitely, I think we can all agree this is not like Netflix's number one, so this could definitely be like one of like Netflix's films that just is in the mix but just kind of gets forgotten about along the way, or just not focused on like his three daughters or something,
Oh man. Well,
yeah.
I feel like I have a potential History Daughters in there. That's what I worry is coming for Train Dreams, a movie that I love and I have seen and saw it at Sundance. And I just think Netflix does this every single year. They pick up a movie and you're like, oh, this is small and delicate and really give it attention. They're like, actually, here's 4 more movies made by very big directors. And I guess you're still here too. And I don't know why I think they won't do the same thing for Train Dreams, but I'm just rooting for it so hard. And I don't know. I'm going to try to push that boulder up the hill, I guess.
I feel like Train Dreams will get the Netflix cinematography slot that, Maria Alconde gets. Yeah. Like lock that up for it.
Does it have a big deal cinematographer? I don't actually remember.
But it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
So.
Well, they have also Nouvelle Vague, or however you say that one, for the cinematography nomination.
Yeah, and in terms of like smaller movies that want them to do right by. I mean, the fact that Richard Linklater has Nouvelle Vague at Netflix and Blue Moon at Sony Classics, like I guess that's like Luca last year, who had Queer and Challengers at basically the same time. I don't know how you split that baby. Like, how does Richard Linklater pick one or pick a studio or anything else?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would say with this, I mean, with Netflix, I think what they also do here is, we talked about this a little bit previously, I think, with some of these, but I do think they are very cognizant of targeting what these movies are going to compete in. And so for them, like Frankenstein, Jay Kelly, and House of Dynamite are their 3 best picture movies in all categories. And some of these other ones are not. No disrespect. Maybe Nouvelle Vague could break in, and like when it premiered at Cannes, I saw people being like, it's like The Artist. I think like Scott Feinberg said that, right? Or whatever. And I'm like, sure, maybe it could get in, but not like here. But I'm like, that's going to have other like cinematography maybe, or international feature, or maybe even screenplay, right? For that one. Train Dreams, there's an original song by Nick Cave that they announced.
I saw they just announced that yesterday, yeah.
So it's like cinematography, maybe screenplay, you know what I mean? Like Wake Up Dead Man, we didn't even talk about. Left-Handed Girl, maybe as an international feature. Like they're kind of going to target, and Ballad of a Small Player, maybe just for Colin Farrell, and maybe Ed Berger. They're going to like target those campaigns for those movies, and like the bigger movies are always going to have the priority, but then they'll try to sneak in, and maybe one of these could end up being like The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which got 3 nominations. What was that, in 2018 or 2019?
18, I think.
18.
Yeah.
And like was a surprise, and like you're like, oh, because Netflix is really good at mobilizing these movies and getting nominations because they're respected and the movies are made by respected filmmakers and they can get nominations, and whether they can get wins now in some of these top categories remains to be seen.
Well, that's I think has always been their issue. Like, they are really good at getting nominations. Like, they are just on their game, like cooking in phase one. Like, that's what they're really good at. And I think it makes sense because it's like these movies are being released usually in the last quarter of the year. And so they pump all of their promo into it and all the money into it. And that's when they're like forcing the movies down your throat. And then that's when like they can't sustain themselves in phase two. And that's why they can't translate a lot of these into wins.
Yeah.
Like, they get double-digit nominations, and then it's like, you know, just best director for Power of the Dog.
Yeah. Or like Amelia Perez is a huge
Yeah.
thing, and then it wins the same two Oscars it probably would have won, you know, if nobody had done any of that stuff.
So I think that'll be interesting to see if they adjust anything, because they haven't yet. And how they campaign their movies. But again, like, they have such a stacked slate this year, so it'll be interesting to see like how they juggle all of that, like knowing how they've done it in the past and what has worked and what hasn't, you know?
Well, thinking about Wake Up Dead Man, like, I feel like we've been fooled twice on like, oh yeah, they could get a supporting actor nomination for a Knives Out movie. And like, those movies are so well liked and have such great performances from so many different people. And both times it has just gotten that screenplay nomination. So I have no idea if they can do it a third time. Josh O'Connor is obviously on fire, and he feels like the one that they might be talking about the most, but they're being very careful about it. I don't want to get my hopes up for it, but I would love for it to happen someday if Wake Up Dead Man is great, which, you know, there's a lot of consistency in that franchise. We have every reason to think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I would love that too. It's like, who's got the football with Charlie Brown? Who pulls the football away?
Lucy, yeah.
Lucy. That's what this is like. I'm not going to I can't get fooled again. Like, they're not going to do this.
It's another adapted screenplay
nomination, maybe.
So,
I mean, like, if Josh O'Connor is like the Janelle Monáe of this movie, which is like not a spoiler, but like maybe, or like Josh Brolin. Who knows, right? Like one of them popping, one of the Joshes.
Josh Brolin in one of the biggest movies of the summer. I mean, he's got some heat on him. Yeah.
Look, we can just get Glenn Close another nomination.
Or Glenn, or any, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We'll see though. If it plot, like, you know, that's another thing. Like, we could say all we want, and like, obviously Netflix is like, the strategists there are like top, right? So they like know what they have and like they're watching it, but you don't know what people are going to respond to when you put them out there. Like, All Quiet is a big surprise because people just were like, hey, we like this movie. And it really internationally really responded. The audience has really responded.
All Quiet and Coda similar, like they hit that sweet spot of peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the calendar year and like beginning of the new year. And that's when, you know, it's like voting for nominations, and then like all of like the winter awards and the precursors start rolling out, and then voting for those too. So yeah, like, I mean, you know, they've staggered. I mean, some of their release dates for these movies are, I don't know if I would say like surprising, but just like, you know, it's interesting, like what they've picked out, you know? So
what do you mean? Like, which ones?
Yeah.
It's just like how some are like earlier, you know, like is this like really a September one, you know, like stuff like that. Like, you know, I mean, like this is what I did last year with like History Daughters. I was like, okay.
Yeah, they put it out in September and you're like, okay, thanks guys.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, on the Wake Up Dead Man front, also, the Oscars have just been so rude to Daniel Craig, who is like one of our great movie stars, and they just like cannot give him the time of day. And again, I don't want to get my hopes up again, but just flagging, like, guys, Daniel Craig has not gotten what he deserves, and the time needs to come.
He'll get a Globe nomination.
Again.
I will be thrilled for him. So should we wrap it up on K-Pop Demon Hunters, which is the biggest Netflix movie of the year? Easily, probably, and I imagine will stay as such. With all due respect to Jay Kelly,
organic hit for them. So.
Huge organic hit, and like to the point. And what's so funny about it, and I think we probably all had the same conversations, as it drops on the Netflix platform, and then a few weeks later, they're all the strategists are like, "Hey, we're doing this. Like, this is going to be an Oscar movie because it is so massive." And honestly, it kind of feels like the song Golden becoming such a hit that I was like, that was their window in. Like, you have a song, you can get into that campaign, and then the animation, Best Animated Feature campaign kind of follows. But the fact that K-Pop Demon Hunters launches on Netflix, like the same weekend that LAO flopped, or like very close together, like the window just opened for them so perfectly. And I'm kind of impressed by the way that they are really managing to run with it. And like, I might pick it to win animated. Am I overlooking something that would be a bigger deal than this? Zootopia 2?
No, I mean, like right now, no. So, I mean, you're not out of the box for picking it right now. to win animated. Like we were saying before with song, like I can see that getting. I don't know how they would respond to like K-pop songs, but
in the original song thing, I mean, original song is just such a mess so often that like for them to be handed a hit and just given the chance to use it, like come on, like the one thing that you can do is nominate this huge hit song.
Yeah, it deserves to win. It can't like they can't pull a Husavik with this because Husavik should have won.
No, that was for Eurovision. Eurovision was so good. I am like way in on this. Like this is like outside of Weapons. All in
on K-pop Demon
outside of Weapons, I think this is like the best movie of the year. No disrespect to Sinners either.
That is disrespect
I just think it's
to Sinners.
fantastic.
I won't let you get away with that.
I think it's a fantastic movie. I think it works completely well on its own as someone who has no interest in K-pop or demon hunting and really doesn't. But I've seen. I just thought it was great.
Now you do, yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I think it's so great, and I think it's an organic hit in a way that people are, like we're saying, like it is every week it gets like 25 million or more or like in that range views, whatever the Netflix metrics are. It's going to actually be their biggest movie ever. Like finally unseat Red Notice. It's like on track to do that.
God,
so
that needed to happen.
It will be their biggest movie ever. It's definitely the biggest animated hit of the year because this has been such a terrible year for theatrical animation.
Terrible year.
Obviously. And so like Zootopia 2, the original Zootopia won against Moana also. So it's like there is like, I think there's the expectation that Zootopia 2 will be like a big thing and maybe
Sequels
it works,
are tough.
but it's a sequel and like who knows. We've seen this branch, like the Academy at least, and the branch like has been welcoming to offbeat picks here in the animated category. So I think it'll get nominated. And it should win because it's just really good. But I think it's got a higher ceiling because I could honestly, like, song for sure with Golden. I don't know if it'll win, but I think it should get nominated. The only reason I wouldn't say 2 nominations because there are a lot of original songs this year, but it has enough on that soundtrack to warrant a second movie, a second nomination. Yeah. And what if it does get, like, original screenplay? I honestly think if it's that big of a deal, it could be in play there as well. I just think it's, like, a big... And this is the kind of thing that Netflix, no matter how they kind of map things out, you can't predict something like this. And like they could actually they don't have to do very much with this movie to have it, to run with it. You know what I mean? Like it's like the movie is doing the work for them. And so we'll see. I think they could bring it back, do some fun activations. Anybody who's an Academy member
who theaters, like they're doing a sing-along.
I already got my tickets for that. We got that tickets. I'm going Matt Singer and his kids, Katey.
Are you going to see it more times than you saw Flower Moon?
I've seen it 3 times already. I've seen it now already 4 times. It's shorter than Flower Moon and better than Flower Moon. That's another hot take. And my daughter doesn't even love it. She's like not in. She likes the song.
What does she call this? What is her one wild robot this year?
No, she calls it the right name.
Okay.
She's not one wild roboting it, but she doesn't love it as much as me. And she still prefers like Sonic 3 to this, certainly.
Not eligible for this year's Oscars, I don't think.
Unfortunately, no. I'm way in on this shit. I just like, let's go.
It's definitely the front runner right now. And then like the other good thing for it too is in terms of the win is that like the last Disney movie to win was Encanto. But like since then, it's been Pinocchio, Netflix, Boy and the Heron, and Flow. So they're like the Academy's getting more.
They're going really arty.
Yeah, that's more highbrow. I wouldn't say Demon Hunters is highbrow, but it's not Disney. It's not Disney schlock. You know, it's not Disney sequels and stuff.
I talked about animated on another episode a couple weeks ago and totally neglected to include Ne Zha 2, which is making its way to theaters soon.
The biggest movie of the year.
I mean, it's an enormous movie. Like, presumably Avatar will even struggle to outgross it. I mean, like, most of that is in China. I don't know how many Academy voters are in China. I'm guessing not a ton of them. But it is a spectacle. I took my kids to that. They really enjoyed it, despite like not having seen the first one and not all of us being kind of confused. And I think the hugeness of that movie is also something to consider here as the Academy's more international. Like it is, I mean, it's big and poppy and it's got silly jokes in it, but it's really beautifully done. And K-pop Demon Hunters is as well. Like both of them are different animation styles, not the kind of like house Pixar style that I think Oscar voters have gotten really sick of. So like if it comes down to those two in the animated race, like that is an interesting animation race. I would be very invested in it.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
But what if Netflix does all of this and the only Oscar they win is for Golden? Like, I can absolutely
entirely possible.
It's
that's
very
what
possible.
happens to them. That's what happens to them, isn't it?
I mean, like the thing is, like Joyce was saying, like they're great at nominations. So like people nominate what they respect and they vote for what they love. And so far, they haven't loved any of these Netflix movies. Unfortunately, like in the top prizes, right? Like we've seen like Power of the Dog, like all these. We can go Roma. They loved Green Book. You know what I mean? Like it's just like they loved Coda. So does Netflix have something this year in this lineup that could blend those two things together? Amelia Perez, I don't know if it would have won anyway, but I think
I don't think it would have. I never had it.
It could have. It had at least had its best shot to win if Carlos Sofia Gascon did not explode the whole movie. But it might not have, and but that's like the closest they came, I think, honestly, to winning.
I mean, I think the closest they came was Roma, but I think with Amelia too was that there are just some people who just don't like musicals, and that's it. So I think
that's less good news for K-pop Demon Hunters, I guess, which has great music in it.
But I think the other thing for Netflix too is the last 2 years, their nominee in Best Picture was The Villain. It was Amelia Perez and then Maestro.
Right.
Even though that was the industry fate, but it was the online Oscar villain.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, Chris famously dropped Maestro from his picks
the
last week of December.
We still discuss
he texted me, and I was like, "Why would you do that?" The industry was still it, and he replaced it with The Color Purple. Box office bomb, The Color Purple.
Look, The Color Purple looked like a good bet until all of a sudden it wasn't. Okay?
I mean, look, we all had it, right?
Yeah. I mean, Daniel Brooks got that nomination.
Just had Oscar buzz.
Yeah. But so I think, for Netflix this year, as long as they don't have something that turns into an Oscar villain, I think that would help them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they need something All Quiet.
I don't know if Netflix is incapable of having a non-Oscar villain. They are too big. They are too much of the Goliath in every Oscar race. Something, I don't know which of these I would say is going to be the villain, but someone will emerge as it.
Yeah. I mean, you can already see all the controversies that will hit several of these movies. Jay Kelly will just be George is just playing himself.
Which is part of the trailer.
Which he's already addressed as well.
I mean, the fact that Jay Kelly and George Clooney track onto each other perfectly, it's right there for the taking. So maybe they can get ahead of it in some way.
I know we have to wrap up too, but I would say the other thing I was thinking was we really talk about Frankenstein, but it's also possible that could just pop. People love Guillermo, and what if it works, right? Then that's that's in the spot with Netflix where it's kind of under the radar because they have all these other noisier titles as well, right? Even though, so we're, we said, maybe it's Nosferatu and it gets a few nominations and maybe Best Picture if it's Nightmare Alley, but you never know. I don't know. So I was maybe that one could sneak in too. Again, like I said, this just feels if they don't win, one of these has to win for them to really win. I just
I mean, everyone's rooting for Jacob Elordi and Oscar Isaac. So if you get the chance to do it, go for it.
I mean, there's also Idris Elba in House of Dynamite.
So. Yeah, I'm rooting for him too. He has never been nominated. Still, no, right?
But a double SAG winner on the same night.
Well, we keep coming back to SAG and all the things that they do right that everybody else keeps getting wrong. So thank you, SAG. Okay, we should wrap this up, but Joyce, thank you. Please come back and do this with us. I think we're all one big happy family.
So much fun. Yes.
Yeah, it's always fun to look ahead. And then I will be right back in a moment with my conversation with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. This podcast is brought to you by Comedy Central's Emmy Award winner, The Daily Show. With host Ronnie Chang, Jordan Klepper, Michael Costa, Desi Leidick, and every Monday, Jon Stewart, it's the most hosted show in late night. And it's a good thing, too, because in these uncertain times, one thing is for sure, this much news needs this many hosts. For your Emmy consideration, The Daily Show. Now nominated for 12 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Talk Series. Now let's hear from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. They are the co-creators and co-directors of every episode of the Apple TV Plus series, The Studio, which has earned an enormous 23 Emmy nominations. Seth and Evan have been friends since childhood and a directing team since 2013, which was a process that they tell me was way more of a pain in the ass than you might imagine. But you can also guess after watching The Studio and how incredibly complex and beautifully done it is, that Seth and Evan don't really shy away from things that are a pain in the ass. Every episode of the show includes a series of long, elaborate takes, and they're both gorgeous to look at, and they capture the sometimes frantic, sometimes very exciting energy of working behind the scenes in Hollywood. And as Evan tells me in our conversation, what they learned in their research for the show is that the word that describes most studio executives is panicked. That definitely describes the character who Seth plays in the show. He's the fictional head of the fictional Continental Studios. But the character that he plays and Seth and Evan themselves really have a genuine love for the business. And the two of them swear they've seen that in a lot of real studio executives, that they love movies above all else. I talked to this duo about how they stay so optimistic about the business that is so challenging at times, and they make one confident prediction about the future that I think will make us all happy. Hear it all in my conversation with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. To start by asking you guys, you've directed a lot together, and you've directed TV, you've directed features, but I don't think you've ever directed this much TV all at once together, like the back-to-back episodes, the scale of what you put together. So even though you've directed together so many times, how did that change it, just to be directing so much and have so much on your plate to get behind the camera for on the show?
I think that's like a TV-based perspective, and that's true in television. But in film, we've done things that are like comparable in shooting days.
Yeah, exactly.
And we like approached it all like a film as opposed to television. Like a lot of the time with television, you're writing it as you're filming it, and like the showrunners in one city and the show's in another city filming, and you have producing directors. And we did not want to do that, so we wrote it and then shot it just like a movie, which is not the standard way to do it in television, but is our
And it was pretty much cross-boarded like a movie. Like I don't think we finished the pilot until like the last few weeks of filming, basically, and like we didn't shoot them remotely in order at all. We would just shoot according to and because of like the incredibly condensed nature of some of the episodes, like they would be finished for the most. Like I actually think The Oner was the first episode that was completely finished because we shot it all in one place in one chunk of time. You know what I mean? But yeah, to what Evan's saying, like it was 60 days of shooting. I think This Is the End was like 55 days of shooting, and I think The Interview was maybe even more days of shooting than that. So it really didn't feel that different from like things we had done in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to say, normally at the end of a shoot, I'm like absolutely toasted and I just need to rest and I'm exhausted and I need to recuperate. And that was not the case after this. It was kind of like, it's over?
I know. I could have kept going. Yeah.
Yeah.
To ask about the directing process, going back to the very beginning, it's my understanding that to be considered a pair as directors, you have to kind of go to the DGA and be like, here's why we're a pair. Here's why, the Coen brothers couldn't do it famously for a really long time. So when you guys started out, was it just so clear to you, like, we operate as a unit, you're not going to break up, you're not going to try to direct your own things? Like, how was that process for you of being a kind of a two-headed director that you've continued to be for 10 years now?
I mean, it was a very stressful process.
Very, very awful.
Really?
I'd say a needlessly stressful process. What's weird is that our DGA meeting to get approved as co-directors didn't actually happen till like a few weeks before we were filming the movie. Like we had been living in New Orleans for months doing pre-production. We cast the whole movie. It was fine. We financed. Like we had we'd built sets, and it seemed as though perhaps like weeks before filming, maybe only one of us would be officially credited as the director. Thank God we met the requirements, but in a way that I'd say just barely. And what's interesting is I actually was so like vocally aggrieved about the process that I'm friends with Jon Favreau, and he just kind of got sick of hearing me complain about it, I think, that he, without me knowing, like elected me to be on the Western Directors Council, which is the group of people who decides, among many other things. But one of the things they actually probably, in the meetings I'm in, spend maybe the most amount of time on is deciding who and who should not get co-directing credit. And I've been doing that for the better part of the last 10 years. And I said,
I've had the fortune of subbing in for Seth a few times, so I've gotten to do it too.
What's interesting though is that even though we are considered one director by the DGA, we could independently serve on the council, which to me is a little contradictory.
That is a little.
But no, it was not the best process, and I'd say I hope to think that I have moved it in a direction that is more I'd say, logical when it comes to directing teams than perhaps it was 10 years ago when we went through it. Yeah.
But I will add to that. A lot of the teams are not real teams. We've also learned that.
Oh, it's true.
We are, but we've learned that a lot of them, it's like you can tell like this is temporary, and their whole thing is they don't want it to be temporary, which I could argue some people should be allowed to do it temporarily, but
yeah, it's nuanced. It is very nuanced,
case by case,
and very few people get rejected and then come back. They're often right about who is a team and who isn't a team. Like from my experience, yeah.
Is it like a power imbalance that you worry about? There's like a producer who's taking credit when they shouldn't be. Like,
it's all rooted back to literally like, them being afraid that like Errol Flynn was going to like make himself like the co-director of the movie and use his like star power.
And they were right.
Yes.
Back then they were right.
They were right. Like just the DGA rules, there's one director on a movie. And so you have to get a waiver to go against that rule. And you have to prove that you were worthy of the waiver. And in order to do that, it's like you joined at the hip is the language they use. And so what they don't want is for there to be like one director who speaks to the actors and another director who is like the camera, like the visual director. And you've sort of like bifurcated the art form. And like they would be like, well, then like they don't like that. And what they like is if you are weirdly have a lot of redundancies in your skill set, which thank God me and Evan do.
Yeah. We're not concentric circles. We're just two circles overlapped.
Our Venn diagram is the letter O. And so I think that luckily we hit the criteria pretty well.
Well, join at the hip obviously can't work when you're on camera, Seth. You have to physically be in different places.
Oh,
but
I had to talk to them about that.
No, we CG me out. I'm always beside him.
It's really expensive.
But yeah, how like obviously you have your system worked out at this point, so you have to divide and conquer in some ways. So on something like The Oner where there's nowhere to hide. Like, how do you guys physically work that out? Who was where? Who's answering which questions?
Well, the like magic trick sort of that people are always like, how did you guys have the same answer to that question? Is we've been talking about it for years and years. People like I had someone from the DGA come because they sneak onto set to like spy and see if you're breaking the rules. And one time I did have the DGA person ask me, like, you just told that actor that, but Seth was there. So you didn't confer with him. And then they went over and talked to him, and he had the exact same note that he was going to give the exact same actor because him and I have spoken about it 100 times before.
Yeah, like by the time we were shooting the first season in the studio, there had been 2 years of conversations about every minutia of these episodes. And so, so there's, by the time we're on set actually filming a thing, it's like almost all the hard work is done and a lot of the arguments have been had, and we are really on the same page when it comes to like the vision of what we're trying to execute. And so a lot of the hard work is done before we show up to set, and then it's just sometimes it's literal proximity. We do talk. If I have a note that I think he might have misgivings about or is something that hasn't come up, then we will talk to each other about it. You know what I mean? If it's something that I know we've had 1,000 conversations about and someone asks me, I'm like, yeah, this is the answer. I know that's the answer. But we're very considerate of one another's contributions and don't want to do a thing that the other one wouldn't like. Also, sometimes it's just like logistics. Like sometimes I'm just like in a car with the people, so it's easier for me to talk to them. And sometimes some actors don't like to be directed by people they're in the scene with. Like that's also a thing that happens is you just see like some actors don't like to be like given direction by me if I'm with them.
There's also a funny thing where if someone's character has an issue with Seth's character, even if they're not like a method actor, there's like they're partly staying in character, even if they don't know it, and they're just like, I don't want that from Matt Remick.
Or sometimes it feels like it's like, I feel like sometimes the actors have, it's like, we're all on the same team, and then like when I start being like, no, you do this, this wasn't fast enough, you do this, it starts to like, it disrupts that dynamic a little bit sometimes.
That is a very Matt Remick thing though, too, being like, I want to be your friend, but I also have to be the boss. Like, that's a real universal human thing, I guess.
It's 100% based on me and my own concerns and problems. So that's not a coincidence. That's very much based on the things that I struggle dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
I talked to Adam Newport-Barra, your DP, a couple months ago, and we kind of talked about not just the cinematography and the camera movements, which are a huge part of it, but kind of the glossiness of the show, the romance of it. And specifically, I was talking to him about the Golden Globes episode where, I've been at award shows. The lighting is not nearly that nice. Like, it's so overlit. It's supposed to be on TV, but you guys made it gorgeous. And, he kind of told me about the way you guys talked about it, but I wanted to hear it from you too about, making things prettier than they are, like down to the offices in the show.
Yeah, and how people dress. I remember when Apple first started seeing the dailies, they were like, should we be dressing better? We were like, yes, honestly, you should be dressing better. Come on, these people used to dress nicely.
It used to be such a clear divide. Like writers and the creatives can dress like schmucks, and the executives dress nice.
Exactly, and some directors also dress nice. That was also sort of like part of the dynamic. But we wanted the show to be cinematic and to be beautiful and to sort of have a feeling of sort of like old Hollywood nostalgia and to sort of capture our version of absorbing a lot of this stuff, which is like, you're right. The Golden Globes are overlit and they're not incredibly pretty, but when I'm in that room, I find something very magical about it.
When I'm there and I'm pretty drunk and we're halfway through the show, it looks perfect.
It looks perfect and it's cool. And I think that's also, like it's literally through our lens in a lot of ways and capturing what we think is sort of beautiful about these places and what is interesting about these places. And that's why, like, on the grand scale of our viewers, very few of them have been, well, actually, I don't know. Truthfully, maybe on the grand scale of our viewers, a lot of them have been to the Golden Globes. But that being said, we went through, like, incredible lengths to recreate the Golden Globes, as cinematically yet accurately as humanly possible. And we wanted it to be that, like, when people like you were in the room, you were like, oh, it's the Golden Globes. Like it's a more photogenic version of it, but it is like the immersive experience of what it's like to be at the Golden Globes in many ways. And I think, to us, that was like something we talked a lot about in the show, was sort of like capturing the kind of magic of getting to go into these places and literally what it's like, and really, whether the viewer knows it or not, putting them in the shoes of someone who is really getting to go to these places and views it as like a fun, beautiful thing that they get to kind of participate in,
Did you guys ever think about it being the Oscars? Was it always going to be the Golden Globes specifically?
It was always going to be the Golden Globes, yeah.
Yeah, always the
because
Globes.
of the tables, like the way that the show works.
Honestly, yes. Like the joke, yes,
very much. Yes.
The joke itself wouldn't work as well at the Oscars. Not to say we maybe don't have some jokes that could work at the Oscars, but that specific joke is one, like, and it's funny because as we were shooting it, people who hadn't been to the Golden Globes kept being like, do people just really talk this much during the ceremony? They're like, you guys literally like get up and walk away from your table and walk back as the show is happening. Would that happen? And we kept being like, yes. What's crazy about the Golden Globes is that's exactly how it works. And you could have entire scenes playing out with interactivity from the stage. The table setup, which the Oscars doesn't have, is also like that dynamic from a blocking standpoint was like incredibly important, basically. Also, the idea that you're probably going to win feels more maybe like a Golden Globes thing than an Oscars thing. And because that was sort of like imperative to the episode, was like, I really thought we were going to win in a way that wasn't where my delusion was coming from. The delusion was coming from that I want to be thanked, but everyone was sort of like, oh yeah, you're probably going to win. And I feel like the Golden Globes have that energy maybe a little bit more than the Oscars do.
The stakes have to be a little lower too. Like exactly. It needs to not be coy as important.
Well, yeah, and if it's the Oscars, your biggest concern isn't, are you going to be thanked? Like, it feels like that's like a Golden Globe appropriate level. And honestly, this story is based on something that happened to us at the Golden Globes. So I think that's also a part of it, is it's very specifically referencing something that we experienced at the Golden Globes. Yeah.
Is it on the record what that Golden Globes experience was? Or are you trying to protect the innocent here?
I mean, we just saw a similar thing happen where someone wasn't thanked in the way they had hoped they would be, and they were very upset about it.
Yeah, and it turns out that that's not the first time that's happened.
No, and it won't be the last.
Over time, we've received a lot of stories about similar things.
I assume it'll happen to me. Yeah.
People want credit for their work. You can't blame them.
Yeah. Well, the way you guys, you talked to a lot of studio executives, you went and, interviewed people as research, even though so much of this is based on your own experience. And having been in the industry as long as you have, did you learn things that surprised you about how people operate either at award shows or any of this stuff? Like, were there still new things for you to learn about how this business works?
I mean, the one big thing we learned that was like kind of shocking, but kind of made perfect sense, is we met with a studio head who expressed that the number one word to describe all studio heads is panic. and before that, I saw them more so, like I've been deep in it with a lot of them and seen them struggle and fail and succeed. But the word panic wasn't at the top of my list.
Yeah.
Because they're the boss.
Yeah, but they're not the boss.
They cannot be the boss like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also, and it was actually like very reaffirming for like what our initial vision for the show was, but I think they were all in a lot more conflict than I maybe thought they were. And we're actually like, some of them are not, but a lot of them are genuinely uneasy with their position in having to reconcile art and commerce and genuinely like movies or love movies. And that's why they do this job. And I think they're aware they could make more money if they were just in like a purely financial field, and they wouldn't have to talk to people like me and Evan. And so I think they genuinely do love movies, and that I think is at play a lot more than, and they love filmmakers, and they don't want them to be mad. Like the idea for the Note episode came from talking to a studio head where she was just like, yeah, like at the end of the day, you just don't want to like give like one of your like idols a note that's going to make them think you're stupid and yell at you. And I was like, oh, like I never really thought of that. Like I never really thought that they even care. Like I assumed it was just like, yeah, got to give them the note. Who cares? Like, but the fact,
but it's like they're the same as us. Where like I watched Happy Days.
Yeah.
I love Ron Howard. I love his movies. If he got mad at me, it would make me so sad.
Yeah, and they feel the same.
I mean, there's a generosity to the show itself and the way you guys talk about the business in interviews where, you think that they genuinely love movies and they want to make good stuff. And like that the business, even as it changes, is like still a good place to work, which is not always a baseline assumption when you talk to people in this.
Well, it is for us. I mean, I wouldn't say wholesale it's a good place to work. And I personally know tons of people where they do not. But like the show is very much through our perspective as people who are relatively successful in Hollywood and generally get to do what it is they are trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, no two ways about it. It is art and business, and any like true art, like painting, whatever you name it, any type of art, like it's hard.
Yeah,
like you are not guaranteed to make a living. It is a difficult industry. You have to be lucky and good, or just lucky. It's very nebulous. Any like real art-based commerce.
Yeah. I mean, like you guys are able to make what you want, but you also face the same compromises or whatever as Matt Remick on this. So what kind of brings you back to that baseline? Like, this is worth doing. Like that Hollywood deserves to continue existing. Like where do you regain that sense if you ever lose it?
We never lose it. Like honestly, like it's never been. I'd say like the character is based a lot on me and Evan and my I'd say a lot of my neuroses as being someone who is, trying to convince my idols to work with me and people. I mean, the show itself was very meta in that way. And like literally episodes are about like me not wanting to like let the people who I look up to down creatively as I'm convincing these people to come onto our show, hoping I don't let them down creatively. And it's really based on like our experiences doing all that, but we never are as existential about it, I don't think, as our characters, as my character is, because it's never that hard a conflict for us. Like we always will, we might do things that set us up to succeed from a smart business standpoint with our ideas, but we are always doing the ideas we want. Like Ninja Turtles to me is like the perfect example of like why I think we don't view the industry as like cynically as some people is like we were just very clear-headed about the fact that, like, oh, if we want to participate in theatrical movies these ways today, and we want to make like a teenage comedy that is like well-funded and well-budgeted and has a big release, like maybe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the perfect way to do it. And also maybe we can make it look amazing, and maybe we can take incredible swings creatively, and maybe this protection we're getting from the IP will actually allow us to like do something really cool that we're really proud of, you know? And so like for us, it's not as big of a conflict, I think, but I think that's what makes us not as miserable as our characters are, is we generally will err on the side of like whatever serves the project creatively, but we'll set ourselves up to do that, you know, by calling it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It's also a great movie, just to be clear. Like, that movie rules, and you did it.
We're super proud of that movie.
We're super proud of it.
It's also, we've been doing this for, even though we're only middle-aged men at this point, we've been doing this for so long. Like when we started, Superbad was like a weird experiment in like budgeted R-rated films, and then it was all about R-rated films, and now R-rated films are hard to get made in theater. Like, we've been through cycles enough that we're not like afraid of the changing waves. We know that it's always shifting. Every like 10 years, it's a completely different industry almost, and we just embrace that.
Yeah, and I think because we've been here for almost 30 years, like I think we've seen like several really different phases of this industry, you know, and we've sort of at once tried to be nimble, but at the same time sort of like also tried to really do what we are passionate about, you know, and I think I feel very lucky we've been able to like find that balance. But I think that's why our view of the industry is reflected in the show in sort of like an underlyingly optimistic way, because I think people are pretty like optimistic about it overall, and we find ourselves able to make things that we're really excited about all the time, you know, and have almost never had like a long stretch in our careers in the last, 28 years or whatever it's been, where like we haven't sort of been working on something that we're really excited about, yeah.
Do you guys think we're going to get comedies back in movie theaters? I saw The Naked Gun yesterday, and
It's
it was
so funny.
such a thrill.
Oh, God,
Are we
it was
going to
great.
get more theatrical comedies now? You guys would probably know before anyone.
I think 100% yes. Like, it just feels, this is just based on my gut, it just feels like that wave is building. It feels like people want it, and I'm saying yes. I think like it's about to happen.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and like, I think people forget, it's like Barbie's a comedy. Like Minecraft is a comedy. Like, these are comedy movies.
Thor Ragnarok was a comedy.
These are comedic films by genre, you know what I mean? And so Ninja Turtles was a comedy. Like
one can argue Fast and Furious is a comedy.
Parts of it.
And a love story,
and a
so
love
many
story
things.
about family, ultimately, though. But I think, I mean, we talk to studio people very regularly, and I'd say in the last 6 months or so, more of them have been outwardly mentioning, like, be great to do comedies again. Be great to get comedies back, and I actually believe them a little bit, I think.
Well, I also think it's very financially based. I think they're remembering that you don't have to spend $300 million to make a movie.
Yeah.
And that maybe they should be making more $35
Yeah,
million.
and that there is
comedies.
a formula of spending $25 million on a movie and $40 million marketing that movie, and it could still make you $50 million, which is a good amount of money, And I think that, like, things just got so big. But the fact that, like I saw Naked Gun opening night in a sold-out theater, like, it was wonderful. And I think
there's no feeling in the world like that, and people forget it. And like, Netflix comedies can be great also. And we're watching the studio at home, like it's a show that's experienced a totally different way.
Totally different thing. And so it was exciting. And it was something, I saw One of Them Days opening night. Like, I thought that was really funny.
Oh my God.
And that was actually, that almost in some ways felt like more revelatory in a way to see in a theater with a group of people. Cause like Naked Gun is amazing, but it is technically the fourth film,
it's IP,
I believe. But with One of Them Days, you could feel the audience. Like, I've known Keke Palmer a really long time, but like, and I've actually hung out with SZA, who I knew was very funny. But you can kind of like feel the audience being like like discovering people, which to me is also
Yeah.
always really exciting. And like you see them uncovering like, oh, this is why Keke Palmer's like one of the funniest people in the world. And Kayla on our show has an amazing scene in that movie that like annihilated in the theater. And you could see people, it, again, reminded me of like when Jonah would have a cameo in 40-Year-Old Virgin or something like that. And you see people being like, oh, that person is like a fucking knockout comedy star, and you feel like hundreds of people sort of like discovering that at the same time. And to me, that moments like that have got me excited and reminded me of things that I haven't felt in the last 20 years or so, I think. Yeah.
I totally remember those platform shoes with the fish in them that he has in that one scene.
Yes,
It's like,
exactly.
it's like stuck in my brain.
How do I buy these?
It's so crazy.
It's so crazy.
Last question before I let you guys go. Obviously, the Emmys are coming up. They don't have tables like the Golden Globes, but like, do you feel like you're going to be like head on a swivel mining it for the studio material, or do you already know too much about award shows that you can't fit in there? Is it different going to a show
if
now?
There's one thing we've learned. There's never, we will never know it all.
No.
It's an ever-changing industry. There's always more stories to mine.
That does it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us for our fall preview series. It was very fun. As you well know, fall festivals are coming up. We will be covering them on this podcast, but if you really want the inside scoop from Telluride and Toronto, join us at Prestige Junkie After Party. Go to prestigejunkie.afterparty.substack.com. You can subscribe, get bonus podcasts, and a lot of Substack lives directly from these festivals from me and Chris and our special guests. It's really the place to get the most fall festival coverage. In the meantime, we'll still see you back here on this show. This podcast is edited by Brett Fuchs and produced by Brett Fuchs and me. Our theme music is by Dave Gonzalez. Thanks again to Joyce Ng for joining us today as a co-host. You can subscribe to the Prestige Junkie newsletter at theankler.com and to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We will see you at the Fall Film Festivals and see you next week.